screen and go through the presentation. And I'll just remind anyone that joins, but Susan, do chime in if I don't see someone pop in terms of turning off their video. That would be helpful.
I will do that. Thank you.
Great. Sorry about that. Just moving everybody around. I got boxes in places I didn't want to have boxes. So share the screen that way. Okay, can everyone see the full screen?
Good.
Good, perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys for attending another webinar. Today, we're going to be going through the Project Hope Services overview, looking at a history of the services that Project Hope has been able to provide over the past 25 years, currently where our services are located and what they look like, along with some future directions of where we would like to move in the future. So thank you again. I know it's valuable time. Everyone's time is precious, so I greatly appreciate that. So a special thanks once again to Lisa and Susan for their 25 years of dedication to the autism community. I was meeting with one of our donors and a grandfather in Greenwood earlier today, Joe Chandler, and just thinking about the uniqueness of parents who truly get the mission so much that they start providing services for their own kids, and it just translate into meeting the need for other parents as well. So a huge special thank you to Lisa and Susan for all that they have done over the past 25 years for not just Michael and Colby, but to hundreds of other children and adults with autism, not to mention their own pouring into my life as a 19-year-old, starting with them as a college student. They have been a mentor to me and just meant so much to me. And then thank you again, once again, to all the participants who are here today. We have not just parents, but we also have several of our staff members. So thank you guys for jumping on and hearing a little webinar about our current services and our future services. So once again, my history with Project Hope started in 1996 and 97 when I met Lisa and Susan, and Hope Academy was started, and both of their little guys were getting ABA services, and autism was an enigma to the world. And if you said, you know, I work with children with autism, so many people would look at you in uncertainty. And now that is not the case. Obviously, we've all seen the demographics of going from 1 in 2,500 to 1 in 44 in terms of the current prevalence rate. So my history with Project Hope started with them as you know, the roadmap, I think, for Project Hope is frequently just a flashlight where you're just guiding the steps as you go. So that's what we've been doing. And in 2007, I was able to join Project Hope again after working in the private sector for an ABA company, and was able to start ABA services with Project Hope, and had 5 kids that we were working with at the time, in addition to providing training for the Hope Academy teachers. And now, just to move forward, we have 8 campuses and 220 children and adults that are served. And so that's why I think it's really important to have this discussion, because you don't always know what's going on in the rest of the organization, because it's spread out more so now. And it's important for you to kind of see the breadth of what's happening as you plan for your own child's and young adults' futures. So just a reminder of what our mission at Project Hope is and the values, because really this is behind every decision that we make within the organization. So our mission is to provide a lifespan of services for the autism community through programs that help families open minds, promote inclusion, and expand potential. And we carry out this mission by aligning everything we do with our core values, which are we are dedicated to individuals impacted by autism. We cultivate a culture of compassion, and we leverage our collective strengths. And through those things, we have an ongoing commitment to improvement. So these are crucial values as we make every decision within the programs that we provide and services that we provide. And so always keep these in mind as you're having team meetings, as you're helping us to improve our education services and our therapy services and our adult services. Keep these in mind, because this is what we really cling to in terms of making decisions. Okay, so our objectives are to describe our programs and services, provide some tips to parents, and to celebrate a little bit. I'm not sure how many of you guys were in attendance or were able to watch the Evening of Hope presentation, but the 25 stories celebrating 25 years is something to definitely go back and do, because autism is hard. And you guys know it more so than I ever will, more so than any of our staff ever will. Autism is hard, and celebrating can be difficult. So I would encourage you throughout this time to just think, what is one thing that I can celebrate? It's something that we do within Project Hope in our meetings, where we give a personal and a professional highlight. And sometimes those are challenging even within our own meetings. But it's definitely something that I feel like as parents is really important. So hopefully we can have you guys do that at the end of this time and move forward with that celebration mindset. Okay, so looking back at our history of services, Hopelink is kind of our community engagement service model. So the history there, when I think about community engagement and what Hopelink was, there was, like I said, early on in '97, not a lot of information about autism and the services. And so I just think about Susan and Lisa talking to every community group that they possibly could to let them know what the challenges of autism are and what Project Hope is doing to meet those challenges. And I feel like that has really helped get the word out about Project Hope. And obviously our society is more well-versed in what autism is through media and countless stories. And obviously every person has a connection in a life that has an autism connection, I feel like. So Hopelink is really designated to informing community partners about the needs of the autism community. So this is still an ongoing need. And our last webinar, we talked about housing and the importance of advocating for better information for our legislators who need to understand the housing needs for the autism community. A lot of times they may know about the autism community, but they don't think about it in terms of how housing or how employment and services need to be modified moving forward. So Project Hope currently has an intake coordinator, Sarah Brunson, and she helps families to access different services within the organization if they're transitioning from therapy services to educational services or educational services to adult services. She, along with your supervisor, is the person who helps with that process within the organization. But I want to give some tips for parents just thinking about engagement in the intake process. The first thing is to get a great case manager. Next month, we're going to be doing a discussion of waiver services. So if you're not familiar with what waiver services are, what a case manager is, that is really important to get plugged in, because that is going to be your access point for getting services outside of, maybe you're not familiar with that because you have insurance that covers your ABA services, or you pay privately for your educational services, or maybe you're at an outside school. But a great case manager is somebody who can help you to access services moving forward, which is going to be crucial as your child progresses up and needs adult services, which we'll talk about later. So get a great case manager is my first tip for you guys. Become an expert in your child and in autism. So I think we have a lot of parents on the call who have teenage age kids. And I feel like you're probably rolling your eyes and thinking, yeah, I'm already an expert. Thank you very much in my child and in autism, thanks to my, 10, 15 years, 20 years of living with and training my child, teaching my child, really becoming the expert. But I feel like this is important for you as parents, because as a professional, no one is going to know your child better. No one's going to really tap into their passion and to their goals better than you are. So become an expert in your child, because it will really help us navigate how to get them to accomplishing goals and becoming all that they can become. And then also advocating for more. So more therapy, better educational services, more funding for adults with autism. We mentioned some of that last month during the webinar or 2 months ago for the webinar for adult housing. And that will, I'm sure, come up in the discussion of waiver services as well. But this is very important for us and for you guys, because you are the voice for your child and for your adult with autism. And so take it to your legislators, take it to your community groups, whatever it takes to be a stronger advocate for your child is hugely important. Okay, so moving on to our Hope Reach program, where we have our therapy services. So the history of our ABA therapy service at Project Hope really, like I said, started when I was a student at Wofford, and Lisa and Susan had to find their own therapist from the community and train them with a consultant who flew in from California at first and then North Carolina after that. But there were so few ABA providers. It was such a new scientific field or treatment option for small kids with autism. So that history started with Lisa and Susan finding their own therapist, paying privately for those services. And then in 2007, ABA services became available through Medicaid, and in 2008 through insurance funding as well, which opened more opportunities for families to receive ABA services. ABA services are intensive, 25 to 40 hours a week for one-to-one services. If you met anyone off the street and you told them that you were going to do that with your child, they would tell you were crazy. They would tell you that's too much. So a lot of what I encourage families to do is to debunk some of those myths that it's too much. It's not too much. It's what is prescribed. It is what is clinically necessary for a child to make the most gains possible. Outside of one-to-one services, we also have social and group services, behavior support services. So some of you families may have heard the phrase or the acronym SBT and also IBT. So we'll talk about those a little bit further in terms of dealing with some more intensive, challenging behaviors. And then we also have speech therapy and occupational therapies as well. So intensive ABA services, which you guys know all about this, home, clinic, or school-based, 25 to 40 hours a week to start, provided in all, this is provided in all Project Hope campuses, most proven treatment for autism. It's a team approach, which includes multiple RBTs and a BCBA providing supervision. And the important piece, parent involvement is essential to the treatment success. No matter if your child has been in ABA services for 2 months or for 12 years, parent involvement is essential to the treatment. It goes back to that initial point of you are the voice for your child and for your adult, to the professional who is there to help provide guidance in how we're going to accomplish this goal. But you have, I feel like, the strongest and clearest voice when it comes to treatment success and treatment goals. So some additional tips for you parents in regards to intensive ABA. You've always heard this metaphor of not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's true. It's very true. And I think it becomes even more clear when you drive 50 yards, like a 50-yard dash, versus driving the distance of a marathon. You hear it and it means nothing if you haven't actually encountered what a marathon is. 26 miles is insane. Like I don't have the endurance to drive that, let alone run that. I don't know how people do it. So if you're in great health, then feel free to walk it or bike it or run it if you're really crazy and a glutton for punishment. But it's important to know that this is a long-term treatment, and this is a very difficult process. And so just keep that in your mind, because I think you have to almost accept that, because you're going to have struggles, you're going to have challenges. But if you really keep to that mentality of, okay, this is one series of really bad days, and we are going to accomplish getting better days moving forward. That helps change sort of your mindset, which I think is really important, so that you can, move on and accomplish goals. And so it also helps you be in a better frame of mind so that you can also be healthy first. I feel like that's really important for any type of services. The announcement in the plane of put your mask on first before you assist other people. It's really important for your kids to see that you are taking care of yourself. So you're modeling that healthy behavior, that mental healthy behavior of, understanding and being mindful of what's involved in treatment. And then it also, you're not going to be able to run a marathon unless you have your own sense of health and you've got oxygen flowing for yourself. So follow the prescription. So this is really important because, once again, it's intensive, and a lot of times it's discussed with families that it's too much, like I've said, or you may feel like that yourself, like that's just too much. My child can't do that. That's too many hours. But it is crucial to follow that prescription for ABA services. I talked about this earlier, celebrating. So just celebrating the accomplishments of what your child has mastered. And, no matter how small those celebrations are, they have a lot of meaning when you celebrate those things. We had a tour last week, and one of the young adults in our Hope Alive transition group, it was getting loud in the environment, and he reached over and just put on his headphones. And, we just celebrated that with the tour, just to say, like, that's huge. Like, that's an adaptive skill that makes life much more happy and enjoyable for him, because he has a strategy. He doesn't have to engage in problem behavior or anything else. He can just simply put on his headphones and keep doing his work task and stay in there with his friends. Mindfulness matters. Once again, just being mindful and celebrating, like I said, is hard. But if you accept kind of the situation, the challenges that you have, it will allow you to move forward with getting through difficult moments. It will allow you to be able to not just put things in a box, but it will make you sort of think about the problem that you have at hand, and rest in that problem for a minute, mourn a little bit, grieve a little bit, but then also move forward. Now I have this situation, but how am I going to move forward? Putting it in a box and hiding it is not going to help with that. Acknowledging it, finding a group of people that can help with that, are all strategies that you can use. So that's really important, I think, for just getting it through the marathon of intensive ABA services. And then my favorite is just every second matters. And I see it up in multiple of our clinics. And I feel like if you do all those other things, it makes it easier to really celebrate each moment and to really be intentional with each moment. So we also, like I said earlier, we have ABA services that specifically deal with challenging behaviors. SBT is a behavioral treatment using intermittent and unpredictable reinforcement of essential life skills such as communication and tolerance for frustration. So that is so important. Just whenever I read the words tolerance for frustration, I'm like, yeah, we all need some reinforcement for that skill for sure. This procedure is used in Greenwood, Pendleton, Woodruff, Spartanburg, Landrum, Grace, and at the Temple. So we currently have 15 BCBAs or BCABAs who are implementing and or overseeing the implementation of SBT on their teams, and the skills that they're focusing on are winning and losing, self-help, adaptive skills, academic play, toleration of sounds, sustained attention, task completion, etc. And currently it's used for, or we're currently using it for children between 5 and 18. So we also have intensive behavioral treatment, and this is SBT is implemented in a one-to-one setting. So one RBT to one child versus IBT, which is 2 RBTs and 1 BCBA to one child receiving services. That is for children and teenagers who have the most severe challenging behaviors. And all of our funding sources, Medicaid in particular, do not cover treatment for this intensive treatment of challenging behaviors. Once again, that goes back to our advocacy point that we really need to focus in on having Medicaid cover all of the CPT codes for ABA services. These are accepted by all of the insurance carriers. However, Medicaid does not cover a handful of these, and this is one of those. And unfortunately, when you can't get this level of care, and you have someone who is engaging in such aggressive and challenging behaviors, a lot of times our treatment options and services are no longer appropriate, and those children have to be referred to outside, short-term interventions, residential interventions. So it would be ideal to have IBT services covered by Medicaid as well, so we could at least have that stopgap measure and implement that to keep the child safe and to keep the staff safe as those interventions and behavior plans are being implemented. So we also have additional therapy services of speech and OT in Greenville, Landrum, Spartanburg, and Woodruff for speech services. For OT services, they're offered in Greenville, Landrum, and Spartanburg. And so we also have had our BCBAs and BCABAs go through and pilot or receive specific training on a social curriculum. And so we have a group that is piloting, implementing that social curriculum in Greenville, and hope to then use that same curriculum in other locations as well. So social group services, obviously, it's multiple children who are being served by one or two RBTs, and working specifically on those social skills that you can't work on in a one-to-one setting. So this is part of the crucial point of quality ABA services. They need to be started with the emphasis of generalization. So generalizing is not just to different areas in the community, but also generalizing from, okay, I'm not just learning from an RBT who's instructing me, but I'm also learning from my peers, which makes for a much more natural learning environment for children and adults moving forward. So a little parent tip for social interactions is outings. Here's a couple pictures of our HAT group going on outings, and just really enjoying it. I've been very excited that some of the COVID protocols have been lessened, so we could go and get back to going on outings. We just see so much opportunity for getting in the community, for just enjoying the things that are around us, and building some social skills as well. So I also have an additional challenge for social interaction, and this one's probably a little more stressful, so I'm going to call it a challenge, and that is to make your home a fun place for others to come over. So let your house be that place. And I think this is important at all ages, but especially during the teenage years. And I know you're thinking I'm crazy, and it's not going to be worth it, but it definitely is worth it, because you're building some social capital in these situations. You're creating some friends that maybe you think you might write off. They're not going to enjoy my kid. And you may be wrong about that. So I think you have to give yourself the opportunity to invite some people in to establish some relationships with people that will provide you with some capital to use in the future, some familiarity with your child and your family situation. Also, this is very important for your child if you have siblings involved too, because you don't want to cut off access to all people because of your child with autism. So you want to be able to make sure that your house is that place. And I know you're thinking my house is a mess and my child may be running around in their underwear if I'm lucky, but it's very important to fight some of those resistance points or messages that you're telling yourself that it's not worth it, it's too difficult. It is very important to establish social capital. You're going to need it for marriage date nights. You're going to need it for just being able to pour into your other kids. You're going to need it to just establish some friendships that maybe surprise you as a parent. So I know that's hard for a lot of you guys, but I do think that is important for all the individuals, just to have some social opportunities within their home, not just in the school setting or in the community setting, but have your home be that place as well. And it gives you a good opportunity to work on those adaptive and self-help cleaning skills afterwards. So who doesn't love that? So moving on to our educational services. So Hope Academy was the first program of Project Hope Foundation, and it was started as an inclusive based classroom experience for students with autism to participate with individuals who don't have autism or students who don't have autism in a classroom setting. However, currently, Hope Academy's educational services include a wide range of self-contained classrooms in Landrum, Spartanburg, and Woodruff. And these 4 tracks include an academic prep, which is an abbreviated day where academic groups are targeted, but it also allows for those students to have, once again, more time designated and set aside for maintaining the intensity of their ABA treatment program as well. And it also allows them the ability to kind of slowly fade into group services and tolerating the expectations of a classroom that way, which can be overstimulating. And then we also have our BTG groups, which include academic diploma track. So our students are in a diploma track that allows them to qualify for a SCISA general education diploma. And then we also have BTG vocational track where students are learning job skills and adaptive skills. And then we also have in Woodruff our HAJ students. And let me back up a little bit. Our BTG tracks take place in Landrum and in Spartanburg, and our HAJ track takes place in Woodruff, where students are learning communication skills, self-help skills, and vocational skills. The majority of our classroom sizes ranges between 4 to 8 students. So once again, that is a very small scale, but when you're moving from one-to-one services, that is a good next move for sure. So we also have educational services with partner schools. So we partner with public schools in Greenwood, specifically District 50, where we have students that they refer to us. We work intensively in our clinic, and then we transition those kids back into the schools with supports from our RBT staff. And we also have our kids who start intensive ABA services with us, who we partner with them and establish a relationship where our RBTs go with those students as they go into classrooms that are appropriate for them in Greenwood District 50. And it really just shows that a partnership with a school district can be very productive, can be beneficial to both parties, not just Hope, but also to the school district as well. There just has to be a lot of openness for that partnership to be effective. We also partner with private schools such as Oak Brook, Our Lady of the Rosary, and Southside Christian. And in these situations, we have, depending on the number of students that we may be serving, we have BCABAs and BCBAs who have been stationed there, and a team of RBTs who work maybe specifically in the classrooms, or they receive designated pull-out spaces to work on one-on-one therapy goals as well. So we also receive outside public school referrals for students who maybe schools find are not getting appropriate services through their IEP team. So they refer students to us to receive usually more intensive behavioral services to help them move back into a general education setting. Okay, so some general tips for parents in the education process. This is a plug because, gosh, I would say probably 6 or 7 years ago when Exceptional SC system started providing scholarships for students with special needs in private schools, we were receiving 80 scholarships, up to 80 scholarships, full scholarships, $10,000 a year scholarships for students. And that system is broken. And so that's a huge area for advocacy, and it got very political, and but it doesn't change the fact that the system was working to benefit students and to benefit families. Because really the uniqueness of Project Hope of having a school model that works to establish educational goals for children on the spectrum. It also works with a therapy team and really allows for therapy to continue in such a way that services don't have to take place from 3:30 until 6:30, but throughout the day where they're getting both education and they're getting therapy services, really works beautifully, I feel like. And our system is set up for that. And it would be great to have additional scholarships to cover that. So that may be a suggestion I throw out in terms of a future discussion for parents, because I feel like that is always a challenge, because once your child is school age, you feel like, okay, now I need to figure out, okay, am I going public school? Am I homeschooling? Am I going private school? And if I do, what is that going to cost me? So if your child is in public school, become informed about the IEP process through Rights Law. That's a good resource to use. IEPs are not a lot of fun. Apologies to school teachers and educators who are on the call, but I think they might agree with me as well. So I would suggest find a good advocate for or reach a good advocate within the community, or reach out to your supervisor to establish a game plan for what services your child needs through the IEP process. Also, I learned this from one of the families that I've worked with in the past: take snacks and a tape recorder. Snacks are more important, I would say, but the tape recorder establishes that you were there and you're going to be recording it, and it makes them a little more serious about your request. Once again, you're the person who knows your child better than anyone sitting at that table. So never discount yourself as being an equal voice. Just because you don't speak their language doesn't mean that you don't speak your child's language. So moving on to our adult services, shout out to Allison Petralia, who Allison's history with Project Hope was that she worked with some of our little bitty kiddos in their homes and in our clinic environment as a line therapist before she went and got her BCBA at Auburn. And in that process, Allison really fell in love with how ABA services could be applied to adults, and that learning doesn't stop when someone turns 18 or 21. So she really has a passion for pushing our current BCBAs to think about that process of transitioning into adulthood, and also kind of laying out the game plan for parents as they go through that process too. I know that is a delicate process. I know that opens up a lot of uncertainties for families, but once again, having our flashlight ready, that's how we're going to get to our final destinations. We're going to take it one step at a time and just light the way directly in front of us and not think 30 years down the road. Let's just embrace the next steps in our transition into becoming adulthood. And Allison has really been instrumental with that process. So access adults, you're going to access adult services through DDSN waivers. So once again, another reminder to sign up for the discussion of DDSN waivers and another plug to make sure you have a really good case manager who can help you understand what those different services are. The wait lists are long, and it's well worth it to get on those as soon as you possibly can. So you don't wait until your child is becoming an adult. You go ahead and do that early in their early child years. So day services. So just to describe the services that we have for adult services, day services are half-day units that include group day activity and group employment services. Group day activity services include social skills groups, excuse me, social skills, independent living skills, outings, leisure skills. Our group employment services include vocational skills such as cleaning and our Printed by Hope t-shirt business. Our current groups for our adults include our Hope Alive transition group, who receive a half day of group services and a half day of one-to-one ABA services to help them in transitioning from either our HAJ or our BTG classrooms into our day services. And then we also have our Hope Alive group that is typically a half day of day activity services and a half day of group employment services. And then we also have services which are individual employment services. So this is different than group employment services because this is a one-on-one service where an adult is placed into a job and they're receiving individual instruction from people on that work site. But then we also have a job coach who goes in and assists those individuals in those different jobs. So when we had that started a couple of years ago, and then COVID and made that a huge challenge, and we have since we put that on hold, but have started those back up again. Sometimes that's with jobs within our clinic, and we also are looking for outside opportunities for placement of those individuals who are ready to work independently and earn a paycheck and move towards living independently. So just some tips for preparing teenagers for work. Start with small jobs around the house that feed their passion. Look for volunteer and small jobs within the community. Tell them that you love them and you're proud of them. This is such a difficult time for teenagers across the spectrum and outside the spectrum. Once you become 13, you have a lot of things going on, and I think it's challenging for parents to remember that everyone has to remember this rule of I need to tell them I love them and I need to tell them I'm proud of them, and just accepting them for who they are. I think a lot of times we receive some feedback about ABA in terms of it not being accepting, but that is furthest from the truth. We always encourage all of our staff and all parents to accept their kids and their adults for who they are, the strengths that they have. So that is all I have in terms of overview of our services. I just want to discuss some of the goals for the future, but before I do that, I want to jump into a reminder that Project Hope is a nonprofit. Like I said, we had Evening of Hope, which was an absolutely amazing event. And if you haven't watched the video, I encourage you to go back and watch that and just get a box of tissues and enjoy the 25 stories for 25 years, just amazing stories of across the spectrum from the organization. And then our upcoming events are going to include another Harley event, which is happening in August. So I didn't put a slide up of that, but if you want more information, then you can look for that. It will be sent out to families who want to take part of the Harley event. That is put on by Greenville of Harley. So it's an outside event. It's not necessarily from Project Hope, but the proceeds go to benefit Project Hope. And then also we have a series, once again, of Hope Invitational golf tournaments that will be coming up throughout the community. So we're really excited about that. So you can participate by helping us get set up for those, by reaching out to people that you know who enjoy playing golf, who want to become teams, talking to your community groups about being whole sponsors or the event sponsor. So lots of different sponsorship opportunities for families to get involved. So after we've discussed all the different services, I just want to highlight a couple of goals for the future. So I'll stop here and just kind of talk through these. So within our ABA services and our educational and adult services, over the next couple of years, we are hoping to get to serving 400 families with autism. The need is so great within our community, and we just feel like that is something that we are poised to do with our level of leadership, our ongoing BCBA and professional development for our teachers. So our goal is to, like I said, get to 400 families in the next handful of years. We discussed it during our last webinar, but having a concrete plan for housing moving forward. So thank you everyone who participated in that webinar and provided feedback and has already reached out to their connections in terms of advocating for housing. I know that Susan has a big push to have a lot of legislators coming in over the summer when they're taking a break from their current session. So any connections you have, we would be happy to have them come in and hear more about the challenges we have in several different areas, but definitely want to have a plan for housing within the next several years as well. And then, like I said, individualized employment is a goal where we want to have internship and employment options. So that is a huge goal. I feel like for us is to not just have those job skills taking place within our clinic, but so that they're moving out into the community, so that individuals can really accomplish goals that work towards their independence completely. And then additional school partnerships is another one of those goals. Seeing such great results from the Greenwood Connection, Greenwood District 50, and just knowing that our students learn skills and a lot of times need to be referred to other schools. So we just want to establish more partnerships with those schools. And then we also explored looking at another need, and would love to get some feedback from parents on this one, of psychological and psychiatric services as well. I think medication management and diagnostics that has to be done every so often to be able to access services is something that I would love to get some feedback on in terms of if you guys have referrals that you would suggest other families look into in the meantime, or if you feel like that's something that, Project Hope would benefit from having. I feel like that would be helpful for us. We've had a great partnership with Greenwood Genetics and with other service providers in the area for those services, but always are looking to expand our services to better provide the needs for each child and adult we serve. So with that, I will open it up for any comments or questions if you have anything. I see a couple of chats. I can attend to those. Okay.
I am going to stop recording at this point, Mark. So if
Thank
anybody
you.
wants to ask questions, it might be a little bit easier that way.